to order. 6:03, we're starting this policy meeting. Let's see. Call to order, let's see here. What am I doing here? Roll call. Tamika Vukovic and Ben Wynn, are you here, Ben Wynn? Last time, Ben Wynn? All right, it's just like Candyman thing. Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second, all in favor? Aye. Okay, number two discussion items. First, we are going to just to do a little bit of an update on the equity committee. That's what I was talking to on the phone before we started this meeting. We have to make sure we get some more people to do this. This has been out since last Thursday, correct?
Yes.
And we have
Maybe even a little earlier.
we have approximately 85 to 90 people that have done the survey. There's hundreds, literally hundreds of people that are in our school district, or at least, you know, with kids in our school district. We need to figure out a way to promote this and do better. I did not know it was going out at the same time another survey was going out, because nobody does two surveys at once. They'll look at one and forget about the other one. So this is going to be pushed until November 11th, or I mean, April 11th. So hopefully we can get more people in there. If we have to do a robocall, a quick one.
Actually, I'm planning on doing one tomorrow, so I'll add it.
Okay, but don't add it to a bunch of other stuff
No.
that people, I mean, if we're gonna do it, it has to be, if we want to take this seriously, it has to be not bundled into a bunch of other stuff.
I also
Alright.
sent it out to staff again today in a newsletter.
All right. Anything else on that? I am trying to wait for some teachers or union reps or something to come through. But can I make a motion to switch these two items, evaluation of administrator and district administrator policy, before we do the credit reimbursement, just to give Mr. Birmingham, if he's coming in, more time, because I don't want anybody saying that we rushed through this and didn't give anybody any time to look at the policy or talk. So I have I motion that. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are changing the agenda to go to 2C, evaluation of administrators and district administrator policy. I will start out with, we don't have a policy. I mean, it's very sketchy. It's very light with no direction. And that's one of the things that the WASB said that we needed to work on. What I would like to do, or what I would sanction Ms. Weiss to do, and Ben, you can see what the way you think, is come up with a policy. I want to, in writing, how to evaluate your staff. I think I will ask the board to put together an evaluation of the superintendent. That way we are participating in this because you are their supervisor, we are your supervisor, so everybody will know exactly how this rolls, and they know they can go to the policy and see exactly how it's supposed to be done. I know you're using some rubrics and some other different information that to evaluate your staff, but it's not policy and it's not there. And Ben, would you say that this could be a board discussion on what we want? Because we're trying to work through it now, and we can just put that policy together as we work through what we're doing with Ms. Weiss, we can put it into the policy and just bring it back.
Yeah, so you're talking about when to evaluate versus how we're evaluating?
Both.
Both.
Well, but that's what we're doing on April.
Yeah, but we don't have we're doing that because we don't really have a policy. This is for future. This
Okay.
that has nothing to do with this year. We're just going with what we have to do for this year. But
Okay,
this is to make it, effective for future from after this particular process on, that
Got
we have a clear cut way of this is how we're doing it. And there's no going back and forth and having to have school board meetings to figure out how we're gonna ask questions or not ask questions or.
so technically what we're doing in April is just for this year until we make a policy.
It fits in with the policy that we have now.
Okay,
But
okay,
our-
that makes sense. Okay,
Yeah, it fits in with the policy we have now, but our policy is very thin.
got it.
Literally, it says, evaluate, talk to the board. It's,
Yeah,
so that's what
but you don't want like the rubric within this policy.
No, it'd just be like establish goals, create a way to measure,
Got
like
it.
just like with EE, you know how it's like collect evidence, do observations, like there's actual pieces to it.
Yeah.
yeah,
okay.
but I don't want to even go that deep. I mean, I want,
Maybe for principals, but yeah.
right, for that staff, but and this is what we'll discuss, I guess, when we bring it back, but I want some kind of, I don't like all or nothing. I don't like you have to do it this way. We can give some options on how to do it without putting it, because I liked it. Sometimes it's not gonna fit.
Yeah.
Like right now, our policy is too loose and we're kind of trying to figure it out, but I don't want an exact rubric there that this is what we're measuring, because maybe we establish what the criteria is right after the last evaluation. Figure out what are the improvement steps or whatever, and then we will judge that way. So it's a ongoing improvement cycle rather than you're bad or you're good or whatever. This is what you were supposed to do the previous year. These are the goals that we're setting for you. Did you do it? How did you handle it? So I think that is what we have to do. And then also a policy of how do we start when we first hire somebody? Because, one of the principals might, leave and we have to hire another one. Let's set some goals off the top saying, this is what we want you to accomplish over the course of the year. And so when the end of the year hits, we have something to evaluate them on.
And also like just knowing, not at the end what you should have been working on, but knowing at the beginning what you expect me to be working on for the next year. Yeah.
Right.
Do you
So
want me to, so we didn't do the PRG yet, because remember we held off, we wanted to get the quick check. Do you want me to do that so that we've got some samples?
what is PRG?
The policy resource guide. So that's just all the samples and all the templates. So we have stuff to look at.
Did
Or
we
no?
pay for that?
Done something.
Mhm.
We
Yeah.
paid for that?
Yeah, I just didn't
Okay.
start it because I didn't want us to be paying for it when we weren't using it yet, while we were still waiting for the quick check. But
Can
I
we
could
just look
start that.
Can we just look at other policies of like people around the?
Yeah, we could do that too. But I mean, we paid for it. We're gonna
Oh, okay.
purchase
It's fine.
it, so,
Sure.
yeah. Okay. We could do both. Like look
Yeah.
at other.
Well, let's
district
start off with,
policies.
and since we're not quite ready to do policy work yet, and we don't want to
Yeah.
pay for it right away, let's
know.
start off with just seeing what other districts, and I
Okay.
actually don't want us to keep going within the North Shore, because that may not be best practice.
Mhm. Agree.
There might be other districts in Wisconsin that does it better
Yep.
or has it better, but we keep everything we do, we keep centralizing to North Shore, and it may not be best practice.
Yep.
Sure.
We can find some from lots of different places. Okay.
Middleton, lacrosse.
Mhm.
Sure.
All righty. Well, that is so you have your homework, Ms. Weiss.
Got it.
I like giving homework. I think I'm gonna turn out to be a teacher now. Just kidding. I feel sorry for any kid who has me as a teacher. So we're gonna go back to 2B. We gave plenty of time. This is recorded, right?
Yep.
So-
Yeah, so, yep,
So I had Miss Weiss and I asked her,
Wait,
So-
did we call him?
huh?
Did we call him?
I don't have his
Oh.
number.
Oh, okay.
I emailed him this afternoon and he responded and said, thanks for the reminder. See you today at 6. So I don't know.
Well, let's start with the policy in itself. Is first line is very beautiful. But for the record, it says the base increase, well, because of the belief the district will increase the supplemental pay of any teacher that obtains a master's degree in a pre-approved program by the superintendent. The base increase will be 8,000 and be prorated to either the beginning of the school year or January 1st if the degree is earned and finished in the fall of the year. And then they give an example, which I'm not going to read. And the second part is teachers will be reimbursed in here in our policy, it says $65, but we've been reimbursed in $70, I believe, per approved college credit. Note that the teacher's credit starts over after attainment of a master's degree, and all credits must be pre-approved by the superintendent. The way the policy, I'm saying it just for the record, the way the policy has been now, as you get credits, it's stacked onto your, so you get credits reimbursement for 1 year, and then you go to school and get another reimbursement that keeps adding on each time you go to school. And I'm not even for sure if you decide to take a semester off, does you still get that money? I'm not for sure.
So what we discovered today that we didn't know when we did some digging is that there are some staff who got their master's stipend, haven't taken credits in years and years and years, but are still getting that credit payout that they got before they got their master's degree. So that's problematic. Because we thought it stopped once you got your master's degree.
Right. So I don't think that policy is bad. I mean, I think, if you get 65, so you get, a certain amount of money for the credits you get, but then once you get your master's, it should stop. And then if you get additional credits after that, then it comes out, oh, there he is.
Right. I would agree with that, Ben.
So I don't think it's a bad policy at all if we just follow as it's written.
I don't
Because-
like the fact that it's, so did you see the email that I sent you? I know I did.
Oh, yeah, no, I did look at it. Yeah.
Okay, so here's,
I'm going to look at it again though.
so I asked Ms. Weiss a couple of questions that I wanted to know, and I shared this with, let's wait until, Mr. Birmingham, are you on?
I am on. Sorry
Okay,
about that.
We just started this conversation because we really wanted to make sure that a representative was here.
Yes.
So I'm gonna go over a little bit what I just talked about, where the credits that people get year to year, they stack on from the previous year. So say if you took 3 credits, you got $70 per credit. So the first year you got $210. The next year you take 3 more credits, you get $420 instead of just the $210.
That's correct.
And that keeps going on and on and on until you obtain a master's degree. Then it's supposed to stop and you get the $8,000, thing, and then it starts over again, if you decide to go further or whatever.
That's all correct.
Okay, so that's how we understand it.
Mhm.
The couple of things is, can you repeat what you just told him? What you just told us about some people have been getting.
Sure. So when we went to look at the history of this a little bit, we discovered that there's a handful, several employees who were getting the credit payout for their credits as they worked to their masters, got their master's degree, got their additional 8,000, but then after that continued to get the credit payout. There are actually even a few employees who their master degree was like in the 80s, but they've been getting that credit payout since then, and they've taken no credits. There was one employee who started in the district with a master's and is somehow getting credit payout. So they didn't even take those classes while they were in our district. So there's just discrepancies on how it was implemented. So the language, like you said, Ben, the language might not be so off in what's written. There's just discrepancies in how it was implemented.
So for example, if I ever worked at Glen Hills,
Mhm.
I'm a master's, so I would get the $8,000. But I think based on the policy, so I took 18 graduate credits in math. Even though I took it with a different district, I still paid for it. So like,
That's
shouldn't teachers still get, like, we're paying them for having a master's, we're paying them for additional credits. And I mean, that knowledge, stays,
think-
right?
So
I think that would be, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I believe that the way the policy is written, so in your case, Ben, I know you have 18 additional credits, and say you started to come back here, you would get paid for that master's. But I would definitely object to the policy of you getting paid for something, number one, you could have got paid for by your previous school, which I don't know. And so that's double dip. I know, but it's still, and two, you got those credits before you started working here. So that's like me going to school, deciding that I wanted to just do something, changing my career, but making my other employer pay for what I learned when I was working there.
But I feel like it's a similar thing where, well, if, you can make the argument then, well, if you got your master's with a different district, why are we paying for the master's in our district?
But that is something that you've already accomplished. You're gonna go from that pay scale of 6 years with no masters to 6 years with a master's.
Yeah.
If I may give you a little history, guys. So in the past, that was a district administrator decision, so that if someone like Ben came in and had a master's plus 18 credits, that would be something that would be negotiated. The district administrator would say, we will pay you for your master's, but we don't necessarily have to pay you for your 18 credits beyond that, although that has happened. But it was an district administrative decision on that. That's usually the way it went. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense to me. So what I am proposing, and I just wanted to run this by, because we're gonna do this as an informational session right now. It's coming back, Mr. Birmingham, it's so you can inform your, anybody who you need to inform. It's gonna come back into the policy meeting in April. And then it's gonna be whatever policy we decide or create or whatever from this will go to the board in May for the May board meeting.
Okay.
But there's a couple of things where I want to point out what is going on here. So I asked Ms. Weiss a few questions. Number one, I said, how much money have we spent in the last 3 years on reimbursement for credits? So 18-19, we spent $80,600. 19-20, $68,000. 2021, $58,005. And then I said, as we keep track of what classes people are, do we keep track of classes people are taking to ensure the relevancy of their classes? And the answer was classes are supposed to be pre-approved.
Yep.
It has not been happening for the last several years. Then I said, because one of my ideas is if we change the policy to pay them instead of $70 a credit, $150 a credit, but we only do it one time, what would we save? And so in 19, we would have saved $79,000. In 2019-20, we would have saved $64,000. And in 2021, we would have saved $48,000. The last question I asked is, can we find an average or an example of how long we have paid people for credits and they never got or haven't gotten their master's yet? And some of these go back at least 5 years. And then classes taken, Google class, active board class, team plans. Those are things that the district should pay outright, because those are classes to enhance the professional development. But those are not in my opinion, those are not classes that we should be paying over and over. And we should be paying the full amount for these classes and then not paying them over and over for years for a Google class. For an
I would
active
agree,
board
'cause
class.
Yeah,
we've had
yeah,
Or a
I was gonna
team
say, we've had
planning
some
class.
staff this year, sorry, we've had some staff this year, like, for example, our speech pathologist came to us and said, there's this training, it'll help us with like X, Y, and Z with our students, and we just approved it, and we paid for that professional development. So that didn't count as like a credit where they would just keep getting paid over and over, but we paid for that training for them because it helps them in their classroom.
yeah, I
So,
think there's a difference there.
yeah.
In the past, it was either if the district paid for the credit, that then you couldn't count that. What we would usually do is you paid for the credits, the graduate credits beyond your bachelor's or your master's, and then that was the incentive that you now earn those credits. Let me just back up again and give you one of the things that, and I understand what you guys are saying. One of the things that I would always brag about, that this credit reimbursement policy is nothing like anyone has ever seen before or ever had experienced in the North Shore. It's what makes Glen Hills Middle School and Glendale in general, that when prospective teachers come here, I can tell them that, did you know that if you get your bachelor's degree and you get credits beyond that, that you will be reimbursed that every November 15th for as long as you are a Glen Hill employee? And every single person, their brows raised like, are you kidding me? It is a wonderful, absolutely essential way that lets Glendale stand out as an elite school and a great incentive to attract people from all over, because no one in the North Shore has anything like this.
I would say just about no one in Southeast Wisconsin
Right.
has
It
anything
is
like
just unique in that way. And think about the fact that some people may not necessarily have the money to pay for a master's degree. So they're getting, at least they're accumulating credits, and they can look forward to that incentive. This was really important too, when we were only, and still even now, that we only get the cost of living, and not even that, but at least this was another way that staff could earn extra money, and that was something that they could count on for as long as they are an employee.
Well, right now we just did, what do you call it? The evaluations on the salaries of people. Which I think helps the playing field a little bit, in the sense of making sure they have competitive wages, especially within the North Shore. But, and I am big, proponent of paying our teachers. But for me, and Ben may disagree, but for me, I see that we help people pay their tuition, by giving them,
Mhm.
150 or something per credit, because we want people to do this. But this is not supposed to supplement incomes either. A credit reimbursement is not supposed to supplement an income where they're counting on it for their wages. That's not what a credit reimbursement does. And if there's a wage issue, then I'd rather talk about the wages. But doing this to supplement your income is not the way to go. We're trying to help people earn degrees in the best way we can. And once you earn that degree, we're giving you a $8,000 raise, and that will continue for your lifetime. But
Tamika, I look at it as though that stipend that they get is no different than getting a stipend for coaching a sport or doing an extracurricular activity. It's no different.
when somebody did it, and I get that, but they don't get the stipend. So Ben here, he does swim, right? You coach swim, right?
Mhm.
You expect to get that stipend next year if you don't coach swim? Because you did it last year?
Well, it's a little different though.
But I'm just using his analogy.
Mhm.
Go ahead.
Well, here's how I see it. So you get an $8,000 raise if you get a master's. That's about 30 credits, maybe 36.
Mhm.
So if you have 27 credits, what's the difference between you and someone who has their master's? 3 credits. But with the current system, you're getting about $1,700-$1,800 per year because of that.
Right.
I think that's fair. I think that, because again, just because so we're going to pay a person with a master's $8,000 extra every year. Well, they're not working on their master's anymore, right? So why should they get the $8,000? And it's because the master's helps them become a better teacher.
But they've gotten their, I'm sorry, say that again, because you're confusing me a little bit.
So if we, with this argument of, well, we should stop paying them because they're not taking any more classes, that would be the same argument as, well, we should stop paying them for the master's because they've already gotten it in the previous year.
No, it's not. You have accomplished something. You have accomplished your goal, which is you have been accredited to have a master's. That is what it is. We will help you get there. But I do not see where we should keep the taxpayers keep paying somebody over and over to supplement the income when, number one, and I'm looking at what they're taking, should be paid for by the district in itself.
Yes. So we should probably tighten up the policy a little bit. So for example, I'm a math teacher. So taking graduate math classes is going to help me become a better teacher. Now, and I think that if you have math teachers at Glen Hills and Parkway that are taking math credits, they should continually get reimbursed for that, or not reimbursed, but paid for that with supplemental pay.
Yeah, they should.
No,
150 a credit.
No, I'm saying 65 or 70 or whatever it is per year.
Mhm.
Now,
No,
if they
Okay.
take a class that doesn't relate at all, then yeah, okay, then don't sign off on it. And I think that's
Right.
up to the superintendent to sign off on. So I think we do need to tighten up the policy, but I don't think the policy is bad. And I think it does cause some teachers or, entice teachers to come to Glen.
Mhm.
So
Well,
Ben,
here's
would you agree?
here's one other thing I have. If that was such a selling point, no offense, but we wouldn't have the turnover we have right now. If that was such a selling point, this is literally 70. This is another person. This is another para. This is one whole person. 79,000, 64,000, 58,000. And we're trying to do direct. And I don't know. I don't
Tamika,
see it. I guess I don't see it because
yeah,
everybody, I understand that you're teachers and teachers are underpaid but there are also people with masters and other places that do public work. And they don't even get nearly as much as some of our teachers get paid, and they're doing public service as well.
Tamika, and I agree with you. I absolutely agree with it. If you're looking at this from a financial standpoint, saving the district money, that makes total sense. All I'm saying is that this was something that was very unique and to our district, that makes us an elite district and lets us stand way above the rest. And so I get it. If you're saying, yep, that $70,000 could be put towards a new teacher and whatever, I totally get that. And I understand that. All I'm saying is that this was just something that was really an incentive for people to come to Glen Hills and to stay there. And
Was it
when
an
I sit at
incentive though?
when I sit at presidents meetings and that, I'm actually don't say anything. When I tell other North Shore teachers and presidents of unions that we have this in our district, there's like, are you kidding me? Man, I want to go and work there. And that was kind of the intent behind that. And now, if you want to say that the, part of the problem is why are we losing it? I don't think it's because of salary. We can get that. That has to be another whole discussion about why we have such a high turnover rate. I don't think it has anything to do with our incentive for salary. We have one of the highest beginning salaries for beginning teachers in the state. And so, and we do pay, and I think that we pay our teachers well. So that's not an argument at all.
So that's where I'm, and Mr. Birmingham, please believe, I have fought for different things, and I have, when, they did raises and different stuff over the years, I have supported it. It's just when we can find things that will still help our teachers, but yet save over $150,000 to $200,000 in 3 years.
You're right.
That's what I'm talking about. And we can still do this. And even though it's, and what I want to propose is moving it up to 150. So it's doubling, it's actually giving you double for 2 years of your credit. So I'm not taking it completely away, but I'm saying here's 2 years worth at a time. But you only get it when you go to classes. And if you stop going to class, you don't get it.
See, I don't know, because like some of these graduate classes are like $2,000.
But then some of this is, and I understand you want a professional development, but it's also a choice that you are making to do that. There are a lot of people, I understand this, but we're asking the taxpayers of the area to help you educate, which is fine. And we give you raises for the education you get. But then we're also asking them to do a lot more. Or they are trying to get their master's and they don't have that option. So they're paying over and over and over again, but yet I guess we need to come up with a solution, because I think Ben and I are gonna have two different opinions on going to the, that's going to, and that's fine. I don't want to change your mind or anything like that.
I think we need to tighten up the policy. I don't necessarily think we need to change it. And then Allison.
And I know I see her. And my thing is, I think we need to get rid of this policy and change the policy. Go ahead, Allison.
I was just going to say, just listening to you both, some of the questions that I think would be good for us to ask as we continue to talk about it, like, do we put a time limit on it? So if you say, I'm going to school now to get my master's, and the district invests a certain amount into helping you through that process, is there a 2 or 3 year time frame so that it's not stretched out? You know what I mean? Like where you're just taking a class here and then just getting that. Like, so there's just some of those, like you're saying, by tightening things up, what makes sense. I think the name of the policy would have to change, because credit reimbursement means I took a credit, I was reimbursed a certain amount for that credit. What
Mhm.
we're doing is a payment, like a credit stipend payment. It's just
Correct.
going
Okay.
on and on. So the
Yeah.
first thing we have to do is change the name because it's not like accurate, and then figure out how you guys want it to look.
And this could be two separate things.
It could.
If you want to do, bring a policy where Ben, that we have a separate policy about the stipend,
Mhm.
bring it,
Yep.
bring it to the board and let them talk about it. But I'm just talking about the credit reimbursement right now. And
And this right here is technically not in our policies, it's just in the handbook. So it's a little easier, as far as making changes and things like that. So there's lots of things to think about.
I
And
can just
I mean,
say,
it's a huge amount of money. I mean, you
Yeah.
can't deny that, the tax,
Yeah.
and that's another staff member
And-
too.
And Mr. Birmingham, this is the reason why I wanted to make sure that we talked about it first.
Mhm.
yes.
Give you time to hear what I say, what Ben says,
Mhm.
give you a whole month
Mhm.
to talk to your, you're the steward, right? Correct?
Mhm.
So
Yes.
talk to them, make sure they understand what I'm saying, and then they can come back next month and yell at me or tell me, exactly why I shouldn't be thinking this, and I will still be open-minded to see, because right now I'm sort of in one spot that I don't see. But you've always known me to be fair, and if somebody comes up with a reasonable reason why we need to do this, I will listen.
Mhm.
But then that gives you a whole month, and then we will do some final decision making at the end of April at our April meeting. And then we will send it to the board, and it's still, the board could shut it down and send it back to us and say, we like this and we like the way we do this and we're not gonna change it. So let's, go back to the way we're doing it, but clean it up. So there's a bunch of different options. Ben, were you gonna say something?
Oh, I don't think so. I
Why
just,
not?
oh, well, I mean, there's other places we can save money too, and I don't think it should go into supplemental pay for teachers where we can save money. I think we can tighten this policy up. There are some classes that teach, I think maybe you should get the classes pre-approved, something like that, where, I might say, hey, I'm taking this math class. Will you guys will you give me supplemental pay for this? And then the answer could be yes or no. Like, I think, like I shouldn't be taking some like literature class. That's not going to help me be better. Right. So there's areas where we can tighten up a little bit, and that will save us some money. But there's other things we're doing where, we could save money by, getting half a teacher, half a coach, things like that. And that is going to help us too. So,
And Ben, just
yeah.
so you know that again, that's the way the policy was, that anytime that you took a credit beyond your degree, it had to be pre-approved by the district administrator in order for you to get part of that credit reimbursement. And so you're absolutely right. You could not go and take underwater basket weaving and expect to get 3 credits for that and then get and be that as part of your stipend.
Which has been done.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
We're saying
and
we can stop.
then it needs to be
Mike-
tightened up.
Yeah, and Mike, I think it's another situation where it's in the handbook, but it's just hasn't been practiced, because by the time I get the sheet to sign it, the class has already been taken. There's 2 spots on the form. One says pre-approval, one says after the class, but when I get it, it's already after the fact. So just tightening
Yep.
up some of those processes.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Because they should not take the class unless you've signed off on it
Right.
and say this
And
was
that's
okay.
that's nobody's fault. I think it's just been how it's been happening. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying?
This
And so
is-
that they just turn in that form afterwards, a lot of people. And so that's just communication and tightening that up.
I do not, this is not a blame game at all.
Right, right.
And actually, in a way, I'm like, go ahead, teachers who got away with it. I'm like,
Mhm.
more power to you.
Mhm.
But the fact of the matter, they did know. I
Yeah.
mean,
And
they had to know.
and honestly said, I'm sure there was some abuse of that, the lacks in that policy. People will find loopholes. I can tell you from experience that we had staff members at one time that had 100 credits beyond their degree.
I remember
Now,
somebody.
Were those
told me
100 were
that.
those 100 credits all within their specialty area? Of course not.
We could cap it too. Because 36 credits is a master's. So
Right.
we could cap it.
Or we can just pay $150 per credit and we won't have to worry about any of this other stuff. But that's here or there. I'm going to, and like I always say, I'm only one of 5. Well, I'm one of 2 here, but we don't have any pure, decision making. We can just recommend. So it looks like if we had to recommend right now, we'd be recommend 2 different policies. And so our homework for Ben and I is to write up a policy that we're going to listen to next week or the next month, see what they come up with. And then if I don't change your mind or you don't change your mind, we're going to come up with 2 policies and kind of argue them. This is the one time we can't come to a decision. But I'm going to try to keep my open mind. I just can't fathom it, but I will listen. And but this is,
I should type up a policy and send it to Allison then.
Just wait until after the next meeting, because we are going to hear if some people have rebuttals, or if they have rebuttals for me, or if they have rebuttals for you, or whatever it is. We want to make sure that before we start writing up policies or doing anything, that we hear enough, give everybody one more chance, because that's why I made sure we had 2 full meetings.
Yeah.
And then we will go from there.
Okay.
I would offer that there could be some potential value too, to looking at like definition and intent of stipend versus credit reimbursement. And just kind of like looking at like what the intent of those 2 things are and what would qualify as stipends versus, just to get some clarity around that could be helpful too. Because when you talked about the stipend piece, Ben, with like, if you're doing a club or coaching something, yeah, that's clearly a stipend.
But that is also, I believe that's also separate.
Yeah.
That is something that is being done at the time, and they will get paid for it at the time. And you don't get.
Or we could call it supplemental pay then.
Right. So just figuring out what our definitions are. Yeah. Yeah. Because you're right.
So Mr. Birmingham, are you you got your message that we're kind of giving out? I don't want anybody calling 3 months, whatever policy they have, and say we snuck this under the rug.
No, it's all good.
It's recorded, so if they want to hear the arguments, they can. If they want to write me a whole bunch of letters, they can. I read them all. I may not respond, but I do read them. I'm just letting you know, because I don't want to hear, if this passes in June, no matter what it is, and it changes from what it is now, because it will change one way or the other. It's either going to get tightened up or it's going to change completely, and it all depends on what the board said. I don't want to hear that. I didn't know about this. This is wrong. We're not going over this again.
Got it.
And here's the worst thing is, like I said, I may not even be here next month to do it. So who knows? And then it'll be all up to you, Ben. Or whoever is the policy person. So with that being said, are you okay with what we've talked about? Or do you have any other question, Mr. Birmingham?
No, and I really appreciate you listening and to the arguments that I try to present. And I must say too that I absolutely agree with what you're saying. Certainly, I'm going to reiterate again that this is a cost saving, and I have no argument for that, because it definitely is. So I'm just saying it's just a nice incentive. And it makes Glendale a really unique thing that's added in that no one in Southeastern Wisconsin has in place. And I think that's what attracts people here. And I think that's what You know, there may be years where, you know, as a board, you may not be able to give raises. And at least they say, well, but at least I got my, you know, my credit reimbursement or supplemental pay, whatever you want to call it again. At least I got that coming on November 15th. Hey, I didn't get a good raise this year, but I got that. And that's something, and that'll help. And, you know, it's right around, you know, the holiday season. It's perfect timing, and people really appreciate that. So
I have one other question since you just said that.
mhm.
What about those people who can't go back to school and they only have time to teach? So they don't get that supplemental income, because they have never gone to class. So they don't get that April or that December 15th push, because they might have 2 or 3 kids and they're a single mom that they can't do anything. Where's the equity in it though? Also, so you might have time to go and take these classes, which is fine. But if we pay some people because they can't do it, is there an equity challenge in there as well? I just put that out there.
I bet people will find a way to get credits if they knew that this was still in place, even if it meant going.
But they haven't been,
classes in the summer or whatever.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to overtalk. Go ahead.
No, you're fine.
But I'm just saying and then I want to also find out how many people on December 15th were actually part of this. Now, how many teachers do we have in our district? I can't remember off the top of my head.
Like certified teachers?
Yeah, the teachers that would qualify under this.
I probably around 70. That's my guess.
So
76.
76, nice.
or close to that. So, and that was about the same as last year, correct?
Pretty
So,
close.
so let's see here. If you do the math. We paid 58,565. Divided by, if everybody got, you know, 70, all teachers got $750 extra. But I want to know how many actual teachers were there. Was it 10? Is it 5? Is it 5 teachers that made up this 58,000? Is it 20 teachers that made up this 58,000?
We can get that information.
Yeah,
But do you understand what I mean? If there's a
Yeah.
small group of people who are making this 58,000, or even in 18 and 19 where there was $80,000. And if it's 20 teachers are doing, or 10 teachers, those are some really smart teachers, and they need to be teaching because they're smart, but also that's a whole nother salary for a para.
And if we're talking
Tamika?
about- oh,
Hold
sorry.
on. Yes, ma'am.
Can I-
Oh, Lindsay, go ahead.
I just want to clarify. So you're asking how many teachers are making up what we paid out that took credits, or just overall the number of teachers that we paid out?
Just how many teachers that we pay out in 2020, you know, what does this 58,000 make up of how many teachers took classes?
Sure. Okay.
I think it would be valuable too, to break it down a little bit more, and I'm sorry, Lindsay, to say this, because I'm just looking at a spreadsheet. For instance, there could be, like, there's one staff member theirs is $3,000. And then there's another staff member that's 130. You know, so there's some like variance there. So breaking it out, maybe like how many got like 1,000 or more, and how many got less than, we could break
And
it out a little
please,
bit.
I don't want to see names of people or what I don't want to
Right.
see names of people.
Right.
I don't want to see where they teach or how they teach or
Right.
what class.
Right.
I just want to see the breakdown of the people, so we don't get any identifying information or
Right.
know what teacher it is, because I don't need to know that. I'm just trying to figure out what the best way to do this is.
And I think the value in that information goes back to what you said, Mike. If this was something that was put in place because teachers weren't getting good raises, can we instead look at making it more equitable, so that if this isn't in place, we take that savings potentially and use it to supplement, so that teachers get good raises. Do you know what I'm saying? So that it's
Sure.
every teacher getting a decent raise versus some having that extra 3,000 or whatever, you know what I mean?
But we're so in a crunch right now. I mean.
Right, I'm
we-
just saying, that's
Here's the
another
difference
thought.
though. We are
Yeah.
blessed in our district. I have to say, we are
Agreed.
blessed in our district for the amount of money we do have to educate our kids
Agreed.
compared to across the state. Some people have way less than we do. But on the other hand, we are the fiscal agents of that money.
Mhm.
And I have never been one in all the years to be really pushing anything like. I feel like a fiscally conservative person right now, which is not my nature. But I also want to start giving. Ben, it's your fault. I'm looking at this because I really want us to do some stuff. If we're going to spend money, let it be direct
Classroom.
classroom. And if that means giving a teacher a raise for our test scores going on all around, our whole district test scores going on, and we give raises, great. Or we say, oh my God, this is amazing, but only a few people are getting this. Not everybody is getting this. The equity piece is a little bit off, and that's just me, but it's Ben's fault, because if he hadn't schooled me on how this works, then I probably would have said no. So blame it on Ben. Ben,
Those
I'm
are all,
blaming it on you, Ben.
Yeah. Well, just remember the money goes to the classroom, right? But the person that has the most direct impact on students are teachers.
And they are paid very well compared to across the state. So there is some also, let's compare apples to apples around the state and what our teachers get paid and
Well,
what.
that's based on revenue limits and things like that.
But I understand that, but we have to do what we can within the laws that we can do it.
And I think we can pass referendums here.
first,
So like we've passed
Good call,
referendums
Phil.
here to keep teachers here.
Operational referendums. That's the only ones we've ever done in Glendale-River Hills. Operation.
Oper-
Anything else? All right, wait, I was just getting so comfortable talking about this. Oh, I gotta hurry up because we only have 1 hour meetings. Visitor participation. Visitors may speak on any non-agenda item at this time. State law and or board policy may limit the school board's response. Going once, going twice. Katie, Anna. Got 2 minutes. Okay. So without further ado, we're gonna put this on our next agenda and then we'll have some more stuff, but these are policy meetings and we have so much fun. Motion to adjourn, Ben.
So moved.
Seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Stop
Thank you all.
recording and thank you. We'll see you soon.
Thank you. Have a great night,
Thank
everybody.
you. Have a good night.
Bye-bye.